Hey guys, so today I read through the Book of Ruth, and in it we see a glimpse of the gospel of Jesus. And so, what's really cool is that you have this lady named Ruth who's married to this man, and he dies along with his brother and father, leaving her with her mother-in-law, and they come back to Israel, to the city of Bethlehem, where there's food because there was a famine in the land of Moab, where she's from. And so that's important to note that she's a foreigner, right? So she comes to Israel and chooses to follow the God of Israel, Adonai, and also chooses to stay with Naomi, her mother-in-law, and commit herself to her. And then she meets this man named Boaz who takes care of her, provides her with some food, and is just an all-around good guy. It says he's a worthy man in chapter 2, I believe. And so then she asks him to redeem her, which is it's a Jewish right or whatever, where basically if the woman loses her husband, then the closest kinsman who's single marries her in order to keep the family line going. And so he agrees, but then he finds out that there's not a newer, he's a closer guy, and in order to do it properly, he has to be the one unless he rejects. And so he ends up rejecting her, most likely because she's a Moabite for whatever reason, doesn't want to allow his inheritance to go to her and to kids that would come from her. And so Boaz ends up adopting her, or not adopting her, marrying her, choosing to marry her. And so what's neat about this is that Jesus chose us when we were not worthy, when we were foreign to heaven and to just the knowledge of God and everything. And it reminds me of Romans 5, verses 7 and 8, which says that, typically a man who is upright, no one is going to just die for someone who is just a stand-up fellow, but perhaps might be willing to die for someone who's especially good. So if you're going to cure cancer someday, I might be willing to die for you and take a bullet for you. But if you're just some Joe Schmo, then I'm not going to surrender my life to you. But Jesus gave his life, and we see the love of the Father in that he gave us his son when we were yet sinners. Christ died for us. And so that's amazing, that Boaz would choose to marry a Moabite, that Jesus would choose to marry a scarlet-stained bride from so many different nations that all rejected him, is incredible. And so we see the love of God, we see the beauty and the wonder of God in his gospel, in the book of Ruth, and we can see that he's where the joy is.